for having me.
No worries, no worries. So, we'll just go like right into it from here. I don't have an
Cool.
introduction for this podcast. I'm still indecisive when it comes to shit like that. But I go by
All
Tony
right.
Oddball. This is an odd conversation with a very special guest,
Noreik Thascool, what's up?
Noreik, man. Shit. And you know what, man? I usually kind of start these things off by just like saying where I came across your name in the first place. And I really believe it was from I think it was a four tour with like you, Vel, Ends, and Hippie C. I believe that was
Yeah,
it. That was years ago.
man, it was when we were able to be outside. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I know, big time. Yeah, and like I don't know, like I just remember like getting into it. I forgot how I even got across everybody else's name, but like, um, but actually I think only you and Hippie was the people I found out through that tour. I never went to. I didn't go to the show though, but I did. I did like keep up with you guys for a minute. You know what I'm saying?
Nah, that's really awesome, man. Like that tour opened up a lot of like local doors for me
Hmm.
because I think a lot of people didn't really know about me prior to that tour, but I knew locally grown.
Hmm.
They were friends of mine, and through Victor, who he's directed a few of my videos. He's directed some of Enz's videos and some of Belle's videos, and so that kind of plug, it just kind of worked out, and they wanted somebody who was experienced in traveling for shows already, and I had just got off of a tour a year prior to that, and so they hit me up, and we were able to lock it in. I remember I got a call from Durant, who was a part of Locally Grown at the time, and I was in Florida at that time, and he gave me a call, and he was like, "Yo, I'm putting together this tour. I would love for you to get on. It's like 4 stops." He gave me the whole concept, and I was like, "Bro, I'm totally down." So as soon as I flew back, I basically had to start getting packed and ready for that too. So it was dope. It was a great experience.
Oh shit. Okay. Cool. Damn. That's actually a pretty wild like introduction right there already. Are you originally from Florida yourself or no?
No, no. I lived out there for a year,
Mm-hmm.
and that was after I graduated high school. I did this program called City Year, and it was like a community service and mentoring program. This is even before I started rapping, but it was one of the things that made me solidified in my passion and in what I wanted to do. I was helping kids, and I was teaching fourth grade English at the time, and I was rapping a little bit before, came out with a mixtape with a friend of mine. A year prior, and then when I flew back, I was like, okay, I want to do this rap thing like for real, for real. But I'm originally from Pomona, California.
Mm.
Repping the IE, repping Pomona. Grew up, went to Diamond Ranch High School, went to Cal Poly. So that's pretty much like my roots are all that area. So California born.
Yeah, man. Cal Poly is a fucking hell of a school. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's great, man. It was a great time being there. Studied music there. I didn't end up finishing because I actually got called to go on tour, and I thought it was a very unique opportunity for me. So
Mm.
I ended up dropping out, and I did that, and never really looked back.
Oh yeah, no. That's what some people get confused with, especially when they say, oh well, you should go to college, you go to school for music business and this and that. And like yeah, it helps, but like I think like overall it's a lot about experience, and especially like for yourself going in as an artist, you can't really just learn that in school. You can learn the fundamentals to it, but you can't learn like talent. You can't learn creativity there. You
Yeah,
gotta just
yeah.
mold yourself.
Yeah, it just depends on how you operate.
Mm-hmm.
I was just like how you were saying. I was so experience based. That's all I wanted. I just wanted to have the experience. But in hindsight, there are things that you can learn from school that you can. There's a lot of context that you can get, and a lot of basic things that would have helped me musically that I had to learn on my own.
Mm-hmm.
And luckily I was blessed with people who were experiencing those things, and I was able to learn from them, and that's how I kind of got my experience. But after doing that, I look back on it and I'm like, oh, well, that was in the curriculum, but I wasn't mentally like there to really benefit from it. You know what I mean? So everything happens for a reason,
Yeah.
and I firmly believe that, and God took me in the direction that I needed it to go, and we went from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Shit, man. So, how long have you been making music for? Oh shit. Okay.
It's been years, since I like first recorded the song. It's been about 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
As far as like my solo career and the music that you're accustomed to listening to, I've been doing that for about 6. Now that was like when I dropped my first solo project was about 6 years ago.
Okay. And then like I do remember like I've only known you as Thascool for like a while. It wasn't until as of like maybe yesterday, honestly, that the Noreik part, and so that's why I'm like, like how long ago was that kind of changed? Unless like that's how it's always been.
No, it's an interesting question. Noreik Thascool. My first ever rap name was Noreik Thascool Samson. And Samson is my last name, and I wanted to make it like it was like a first, middle name, last name kind of thing. And then I went by Noreik Thascool, but through like flyers and things like that, people would never put Noreik. They would only put Thascool. I don't know if they chalk it up to laziness or if I chalk it up to they just thought that was enough. But it wasn't until I really took charge of putting out my own music and registering my own music that I like let people know, hey, I go by Noreik Thascool. So first and the last name, that's me, And Noreik came from my first name, which is Kiran, and Noreik is Kiran backwards. And I wanted to come up with something that was a reflection of me, but was a different character, a different side of me, and that's how I went about it.
Ah, okay, for sure. That's actually creative. I like that. Dang, man. Shout out to you for discovering that. Cool. Well, let's talk about some inspirations, man. I mean, like, I'm gonna ask some basic questions off top, just because I did watch a little bit of the Untapped Hip Hop, interview or segment that they do over there, which salute to them for that. I'm definitely gonna look more into it. And but let's talk about like inspirations real quick. Like what kind of helped like mold your craft together.
Man, well, as far as just like the rap, I've always been a fan. One of my favorite rappers is Lupe Fiasco, and I loved how deep his messaging was. He was like one of the few rappers that I would have to research what he was saying, in order for me to understand the bar, or I would listen to it months later and I would catch something different, So in high school, like just during my formative years, aside from like West Coast hip hop, I listened to like a lot of Exhibit, a lot of Snoop Dogg, a lot of, just kind of that era coming up. And but then when I started writing myself, Lupe was addressing topics that I felt that I could relate to, because I'm not a gangster or anything like that. So even though that I listened to that music, I felt like I couldn't, like it wasn't speaking to me. I just really liked how it sounded. And then when I came across artists like that, like Common, like Kanye West, and Andre 3000, I was like, oh, this is kind of what I want to talk about. This abstract kind of, not necessarily like a tiny bit nerdy, just more introspective, more conscious, more just like trying to elevate the listener, instead of talking about a traumatic experience that they may have gone through,
Yeah.
And that's kind of where my passion was, because around that time, I don't know if you remember, but there was a lot of like terrible rap that was coming out at that time. Like that was when the ringtone rap era was like really prominent, and I just felt like that they were trying to really downgrade and diminish the power that hip hop music had by coming out with all of these tunes that didn't really make any sense and wasn't adding to the culture. So I was like, no, I'm not going to contribute to that. Like, I want to be on the other side. I want to be somebody who really puts substance into my music. And from that point on, it was like 2007, 2008 is when I really started writing and rapping for myself.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely, man. And that's like one thing too I've always like kind of figured out in your music is that like you really do have that motivation that you kind of give off. You know what I'm saying? And like it's kind of like just like hard to like not like face that. You know what I'm saying? It's just like it's just plain in the sight. You know what I'm saying? Like you just deliver it in a way that like it's just you could just have this playing in the back of your head, and then eventually the words can like just gravitate to you. So it's like you're planting seeds and into like the people that don't catch them immediately. You know what I'm saying?
Man, and that's what those artists did for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so hearing that from you is like a huge compliment, because I've always just wanted to do that. Like, if you didn't catch it the first time, I guarantee if you go back to it, you're gonna catch it, because it's about the listener's mental state at the time of them listening.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's why today is so great. You know, I'm glad that music doesn't have a shelf life like how it did years prior, you know, where people would feel like it's old, because we're streaming and because we're getting all of this music. People can listen to things at any time and it'll be new to them, you know. And sometimes everybody's growth and evolution into becoming a better person, like the things that I'm saying won't necessarily register until they get to a certain point with themselves or with their environment, and then they'll be like, oh, well, I want to do better for myself. Oh, wait, well, this song is talking about doing better for myself. Now I like it. Now I like what's being said. So I've always just tried to keep that, you know, that positivity and that motivation just kind of relative in my music, regardless of what I put out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. It's kind of like when you're speaking to someone, like whether it's like, you know, you rapping your lyrics to somebody else or just simply speaking to them in general, you can only say so much for them to really grasp onto the important part of it. And you know, and that's one thing that like I kind of loved about Monday Morning, especially when you had Gary Vee at the end of it, and you know, discussing, you know, like, hey, stop looking like Monday like a big drag. Like, you better get your ass up and do shit, you know. And then like, you know, and then I just, you know, that was been like the theme song for today, ironically, since it's Monday, but that wasn't the sole reason. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, it's a really good song.
I appreciate that, man. That was a huge impact on my life. You know, shout out Gary Vee. And shout out JM Cam, who is a producer that I work with, and he's a part of Productive Culture, and he was the one that put me on, because at the time we were working very, very closely, and he was like, yo, I just discovered this guy Gary Vee, and like, he's just telling it how it is, you know. And I was going through his videos, and that was one of the videos that he did. It was like this Monday motivation. He was on a street corner, and he just kind of was going off, and I was like, yo, this is incredible. Like, I'm so amped right now, like, ready to do whatever. And when it came time to work on the night before and the morning of, my concept for that was I wanted to create a project that illustrated what it was like to be me at night, and illustrated what it takes to continue to be me in the daytime. Mm-hmm. You know, so like the night before is like about a show and going out and hanging out with your friends and maybe meeting a girl and all this other stuff, and then it kind of closes with me dreaming. Mm-hmm. And then the morning of starts off with me being awake and like what I have to do to motivate myself to be creative, because at the time of me creating it, not a lot of people were creatives at that time. You know, not a lot of people had the tools necessary to do those things. And it took a lot of work to constantly like get motivation to work on that. And it was just awesome when we did it. I was working with my other producer at the time, Apollo. He's the one that did the beat. And I just wanted something that was just like upbeat and will get you going, something that can just start off. And I was like, everybody hates Mondays, so why don't I make a song that will just motivate people to do Mondays? And at first we were like, let's do a song for like every day of the week. But then I thought that was just a little bit too cheesy, and I was like, I'm not trying to do that. Let me just do Monday, and we'll start from there. And then we sampled the Gary Vee conversation because it just works so well. And we kind of cut it and we spliced it a little bit. And fun fact, we were able to send it to Gary himself. And at that time, he was doing his daily V's a lot, and he was doing them on Facebook. And he did this hour-long daily V. And at that time, that was like unheard of, because there was only like 5-minute videos and things like that. So we did an hour-long one on Facebook, and he used that song as the theme song. And I was able to connect with him through Jam Cam, who had sent beats out to his videographer, D-Rock. And just through it, he was like, yo, I love the song, would love to feature it. I was like, of course, bro, like that's great. And because of that, it's still getting streams, to this day, just because people are discovering Gary V's content, and then they come across that record, and then they find me. So I'm very, very grateful for that, and that's been like one of just the highlights of that project for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely, because like that. That's the cool thing about Gary Vee, and like some people can get annoyed of him, and which I can see how, but it's also like he really is all about like really like telling you like, dude, you have everything you need nowadays. You know what I mean? Like the world is literally in your pocket, and you just gotta get creative and figure out where you're gonna go from there. And so it doesn't matter what day of the week it is, just do it.
Yeah, the main thing is perspective that he brings.
Mm-hmm.
It's he can, no matter your situation, he can present a positive perspective for you to feel like you can do something about it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's key, because as artists, we need to be able to bring that to our audience and to our fans, because everybody wants to elevate. Everybody wants to become a better version of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And it's super important to keep perspective in that, because just because you're in the pits doesn't mean that you can't get to the palace.
Dang. See, there you go again. You're making me forget I'm recording an interview right now. You know what I'm saying? I say this sometimes in certain interviews, man, but like sometimes some words just resonate different. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. No, I appreciate it, bro. I appreciate it. Like, it's great to just be able to talk to you, man. Like, when you hit me up about this interview, I love being able to just share my own experiences and the things that I've gone through. If it's going to help anybody, if it's going to help you or anyone who sees this, that's the point. And I'm blessed to be able to do that. I've been able to be blessed in different ways to get an experience, and I'm only trying to pay it forward.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So, this thing's gonna be like a hidden gem for a lot of people, and so they're gonna recognize it when they listen to this. But shit. So the night before, the morning of album, kind of like tell everybody how like it was creating the whole project together, and figuring out like how the name became about, and like what kind of inspired the whole thing together.
Yeah, man, definitely. Well, I've always, because of the artists that I love, I've always been interested in making concept albums. Before the streaming era and before singles were the main thing, I was like, oh, I'm only making concept albums. So I would just have these ideas in my head, and it kind of just spawned. I was like, I want to do like this kind of yin and yang type of concept album, but at the time I didn't really have the resources to make as much music as I wanted to make. So then I narrowed it down. Instead of doing 2 full lengths, I narrowed it down to doing 2 EPs. And then I thought that was unique in itself, because not many people had dropped, double EPs at that time. So I was like, okay, cool. This is something unique. It brings excitement to me, because it's not something that has been done before.
Mm-hmm.
And I was able to link up with Apollo. We met at the Dope Spot Studios in Pomona, and we just kind of hit it off right away. He was coming from the Bay Area. He was like, yo, I just moved down here. I was looking for studios to work with. I make like alternative rap and R&B. I make my own beats, and I have a studio at my house. And I was like, oh man, like, let's just link. And literally we just hit it off. And he was like, yo, I want to help you create your sound and make your sound, because prior to that, I was making different music with like a different collective, and this was like going to be my first solo outing. So I felt that it was going to be my first time where I really had full control over what I was going to be putting out, and I didn't have to delegate what was going on or have the opinions of other people kind of really, or just having a verse here or a verse there. It was like, no, I was challenged to make verse, hook, verse, full song, like everything that I wanted to make out of it. And he just really made me feel comfortable, at his studio, which is like super key for any artists that are like looking to work with people. Like, work with people who make you feel comfortable and who respect you enough and appreciate you enough to push your sound to the next level, And he had everything that I was lacking in music, and his music theory was on point. His recording was on point. He was adventurous in the ways that he wanted to use like vocal, vocal plugins and different things like that. And I didn't really know all of that stuff. I didn't speak that language yet. But I knew that I had this in me that I wanted to get out, and I was able to convey that to him. He was like, all right, cool. Well, if you're going to do the night before and the morning of, then both of them have to be different sounds, but nothing too drastic where, it throws people off, but just enough where you kind of get both sides. And I've always been a fan of skits and of theatrics that are in songs. So in the night before, I was like, oh, I got to get somebody to like announce me at a show, like as if we're at a local show. Sometimes I'm late, so like let's add that I'm late to this local show. You know, and the homie Quinny C came through and laced it. And that was for the song Automatic, and then adding to me performing and the girl in one of the songs, it escapes me right now, but she like ends up walking away, and it looks like the sound of it is that she's walking away from the stage, so the music is going down, and her phone call is getting getting louder, and just all of those kinds of elements were what I wanted to add to it. And then he told me for the morning of, it'll be a lot brighter, it'll be a lot, we're gonna do stuff in C major, majority of the time, and a lot of like just kind of like bright kind of sounds. Maybe we can get a choir. I didn't know where I can get a choir at that time, but like I just got a bunch of my friends who sang, and my brother who was in school at the time for music also, and he was part of a choir himself. He kind of knew, all right, these are the harmonies that we need to have, and we just kind of winged it. And shout out to those people, because it was just literally like 6 of us, but Apollo was able to make it seem like it was so much more. And they were able to take my concept and elevate it, because at that time, a lot of local artists didn't have access to other people getting on their music other than like another rapper. There weren't a lot of singers that were locally around, and there weren't especially like people doing real choir type stuff. So for my community, it was something that they hadn't really heard before, and I was ambitious enough and also naive enough, because I didn't realize how much it would really take to try and do it, and try and push it forward. And we were able to knock it out, man. And it's to this day one of my favorite pieces of work that I've ever done. I sometimes just listen back to it and like, yeah, the recording could be better, and I can be, I've learned from that time how to record better and distance myself from the mic and my rap voice, and I've gotten more confident and different things like that. But I listened back to that, man, and it was just pure passion, pure joy that was just really being put into it, and my yearning to just want to present people with something that was just so unique and that can help.
Yeah, and I had one of my cousins, like I showed him some of your music, and he ended up like going like a deep dive. Then definitely more than I did for sure. And like he did point out a song I don't remember, because I remember listening. I just had it playing in the background sometimes, and like when I was doing my things today. But like I think it was either like Cocaine or Lucid, that you had like a woman be like, I guess her boyfriend called and was like, oh, hey, where you at? Well, I'm at the Thascool show. And it's like, what? Like, yeah, I'm here. Like, see, you don't listen. Like, I told you I was gonna be here. Blah blah blah. And it's like, it's like stuff like that that's like really cool about skits. And it's like, I think that's what a lot of people are missing nowadays. Like third person, they kind of created this thing in their album, which was like a skit, and it's cool because like, I really believe that people forget about how important that can be for an album. You have like look at the Eminem Marshall Mathers LP, or even Slim Shady LP. There are skits in there. It kept you wanting to listen to the next song after that. Like it's always something that's different with them.
Yeah, it's theater. It's theater, and it's poetry, and it creates like I've at that time I knew that like I couldn't say everything through rhyme. I was just like, I'm still learning how to say everything through rhyme. And so how else can I convey how serious this is, or how silly this is, or how, different things like that. And I just went to theater. I just thought back to all the people who created skits that I've enjoyed. A lot of West Coast rap had a lot of skits. I think that's why Eminem was so appealing to us over here in the West Coast and to Dr. Dre, is because he was willing to try and play these parts and get actors and actresses to be a part of this. And shout out my homegirl Brianna, she was the one that was on there, and I brought her in, and she hadn't recorded anything at that time, so just kind of coaching her through it and trying to get this authenticity out of it. But that was a real situation that was going on. Is I had a friend who was a girl who her boyfriend would be mad that she would come to my shows, and I wanted to convey that as being this is the kind of stuff that I have to deal with as an artist. I can't even have my friends come to my local shows and I'm not even getting paid for, that no time is, she just wanted to dedicate her time to. And for that, I was just grateful. So I wanted to just convey that story. I thought that it was a good way to introduce women into that project and to talk about women on that song as well. And that's kind of how it turned out.
Yeah, for sure. And that's one thing too. When you start getting that unnecessary headaches, just because of small things like that, it kind of means that you're going in the right direction. You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, I believe it's a good sign. For sure. So
yeah, man.
So quick thing. What are your thoughts on Taco Bell? Is it is it in your heart?
Oh yeah, Taco Bell. Got Taco Bell love. I work for Taco Bell. I work for their social media team at their corporate office. And they've been a great company to me. I started working there for about 2.5 years now, and they've been honestly a really big support. They support me in the music that I make as well. I've been able to perform for the company at their Christmas show with my own music, and brought my own stuff, and they were like, yeah man, do your thing. And we're talking about grown OC white adults that are enjoying the type of positivity that I'm bringing. So it was very eye-opening for me and kind of opened up another audience for me.
Yeah.
And their support means so much. They've come to my shows, and I've been able to do more shows out in the OC, and as a result, turn people who are just my coworkers into actual fans who are buying my merch, who are buying my CDs, who are helping me even create. I've met some artists who do graphic design and who do different types of physical art for Taco Bell. I've been able to talk to them and develop a relationship with them, and they've been able to work on my stuff, because they freelanced as well, other than that being their day job. So we've been able to work on that and get tips and pointers from people who do commercials for them and stuff like that when I'm talking about videos. And it's been an absolute blessing to be able to see how a billion-dollar business kind of runs, from all levels. And for me being an entrepreneur and wanting to create my own company and my own business, whether it's in music or whether it's providing other sorts of products, it's really cool to have that kind of insight. So I rep Taco Bell a lot. They have some dope merch, and I hope that through me growing, eventually I'll be able to just have the testimony of saying that Taco Bell as a brand as a whole supports Noreik Thascool as a whole publicly. That's that would be really cool.
Yeah, tremendously, dude. I don't know. It's a cool thing that I went off just because of the shirt, honestly, but that's actually really insightful. I think for anyone that thinks that they have to quit their job just so they can chase a dream, where it's you don't know that maybe even your own workspace can actually be a big support for you, and see where it goes from there.
Honestly, and that was a lesson that I had to learn, because I was used to just quitting jobs and going on tour. I would work a job for 6 months, save up some money, find a tour, schedule out a tour, and I'll be like, peace out. I'm gone. I've worked for like Home Depot, worked for FedEx, worked for, all those different places that didn't really elevate me. But then when I found Taco Bell, it was just so different. Like their culture was so different. They had a culture that was part of, because this was a brand. It's not just that they served food, but they had all of the different elements necessary in order to create a lifestyle. And I was like, well, I'm a rapper. I'm all about lifestyle. Like, that's what we do. Like we're trying to rap about our lifestyle and the lifestyle that we've experienced or different things like that. So it was very, very relatable. And I think when they knew how passionate I was about it and how serious I took it and the things that I was doing, that kind of surprised them when I'm like, oh yeah, my music is here, my music's there, I've toured, I've done this stuff. They really, individually, people who work there have gotten behind me, but even the company as a whole, them allowing me to perform on various occasions, to host, a couple company events that were private, but I got to be Noreik Thascool at those events, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that opened my eyes to realizing that you, like what you said, that you don't just have to quit your job and chase the dream. You can actually work for a company that was the dream itself, so they understand you having a dream, and they understand. And if you're like a go-getter, and if you're somebody who utilizes the things that are around you, like I have, then they're going to support that, and I think that that's been probably one of the best things ever, because the money that I make from there has allowed me to get my music videos done, has allowed me to create shows and curate shows and pay other people to do things and pay my producers or pay my videographers or different things like that. So it's been a blessing, man. It's been a blessing for sure.
No, hands down, man. Shit. Shall we transition to Triangles, the 3-song project that you had?
Yeah, let's do it, man. Triangles was really dope. Dropped that at the top of the year.
Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, like, I know it's, a 3-song project. I don't know if it was just like an EP for you or not, but like, like compared to the last 2 projects, like the 1,000 and the Morning album, it's just like, there's very little that you just like threw out for us in 2020. So I mean, like, what was like the transition between those 2?
Yeah, man. From doing 1,000 was a really special project to me. Prior to Triangles, just because it was me utilizing, because with The Night Before and The Morning Of, I worked really, really closely with Apollo, and we were able to do that together. And I leaned a lot on his expertise of how to produce music in order to come out with that project. Like, I'm super grateful for him because, like, he just gave me the confidence to do it. And then with 1,000, I was able to actually apply that confidence. I work with JM Cam, and he is another wonderful producer to work with, and another one that pushed me. But I was able to bring some value to it. I didn't just like go off of his lead. I was able to like say, this is what I want. I want to do this. I want to do that. And then he would say, all right, well, does this make sense? And he would pose questions. And I'm like, well, you know what? I don't really have, like, if I have 14 songs and I put all 14 out, how am I supposed to follow up? How am I supposed to do all of these different things? So he's like, well, why don't we narrow it down to 7? And I'm like, okay, 7 is a good number. I like 7. And I like EPs anyway. A lot of people are consuming less and less music. So I would hate to put, 15 songs on there and people only listen to 7 anyway. So I was like, all right, well, if we do 7, they got to be quality. And I was able to pick out my producers, not just JM Cam, but getting Chris Beach to work on that, Dom V. These were all producers that I was able to just build relationships with off the strength of me and my artistry. And that made me feel very empowered, and
yeah.
Everything from the artwork and everything is all from my brain. Mm-hmm. And just having all these talented people come together and say, yeah, let's do that. That's dope. And then execute it. I was like, this is wonderful. Like, this is great. This is exactly what I want to be able to do. And it gave me the confidence to really move forward. And when I did 1,000 and we put it out and we just had the the reception, I think that's kind of what elevated me to a person of like, oh, okay, he's trying to take this worldwide. He's not just trying to be a local artist or, make music as a hobby. Like, you're actually trying to do this. It was like the first project that I really registered and the first project that, I really, really want to put out. And I didn't do any videos, really for the project, because I was just kind of lacking in that department, at the time. But I took that as like a true learning curve, like I didn't want someone to just say, oh, I'm going to just do this for you. No, I wanted to really make it happen,
Yeah.
And fast forward of just dropping that project and being able to tour and do shows, that was like the project that really allowed me to go out and perform, like the local circuit, perform in the IE. That's when I got recognized by like Booker T. Face, and when I got recognized by, East to the River and all these other collectives, and people kind of knew like, oh, okay, this is what you're doing, and this is how you're bringing it.
Yeah.
And just fast forward to Triangles. Triangles came from a trip that I made because Apollo ended up moving to Michigan, and we would just always talk, and we didn't really have the remote working kind of set up. And thank you to Taco Bell, I was able to save up enough money and use my vacation, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna just fly out to Michigan, bro, and like I'll stay at your place for a week, and we'll just like knock out a bunch of music. And that's exactly what we did. He was like, yo, I got the studio up, we're all good to go. I went out there and slept in the studio for a whole week, and we created a whole bunch of music. We did about like 5 to 6 songs, like 5.5 to 6 songs, and it was just for 4 days, and then I flew back, and we were planning on putting all of them out, but again, it was kind of like, well, if I put them all out, then I won't have anything for afterwards. And this is when I started transitioning to, if I'm going to become a real artist and an artist that is trying to take this worldwide, I can't just put all my eggs in one basket every time. Mm-hmm. This is when I started cataloging music, and I started having songs that were finished, could be put out, but I wouldn't put them out. I would just have them. And that was kind of empowering too, as just far as having ammunition. I felt like I wasn't, emptying my clip every time, And when we were just messing around with the topics of how we're going to put out this music, I was again playing around with concepts, and I was like, okay, well, what kind of concept do I want to do with this? Like, where am I at right now? Where am I at mentally? And I was in a very kind of just directional place. I was like, well, I'm moving in all these different directions. I have all these different opportunities. I have all these other people that are supporting me, and I have this fan base that I got to create and got to solidify, like, how am I going to do this? So the original concept for Triangles was going to be like directions, like northwest, south, east, so all the songs have like a direction to them, and it kind of still has like some remnants of that, because you have Down For Me, you have like Outbound Calls, you have Inward, there's a couple other songs that we haven't released yet, like Left Side and 9 a.m. Eastern, and like it was just it was this whole directional thing. And when I flew back, we did those in like October, and Apollo was mixing them at the time, and around January we were just talking, and I was like, bro, like I really want to drop some of these songs, and he was just like, all right, well, why don't we do like a three piece? Currency is another artist who I admire because of his consistency in dropping music. He was dropping EPs and albums literally every month, and he dropped this one called 3-Piece Suit. Mm-hmm. Or no, it was I think it was called 3-Piece Suit or 3-Piece something, and it was 3 tracks, and he had his 3 cars, and it was just like dope, like how it just like was so concise. I was like, man, that's really tight. Like, I wish I could do something like that. So I was like, I told him, I was like, I want to do 3 songs, and we selected the 3 songs, and I was like, all right, how could I bring these 3 songs together? What are they talking about? And in them, to me, they were talking about three kind of different ways of attacking a situation. You know, you have down for me, you have people who, you know, where you're vulnerable and where you make mistakes, but people are still supporting you in that, you know, and finding the strength in that and not taking that for granted, you know, being grateful for that. And then you had inward, where it was, of course, what are you doing to make yourself better as a person, you know, and I was just kind of talking about that. And then outbound calls is reaching out, you know, reaching out to everybody who's like down for you and who can help you. You know, my homie Johnny had a wonderful phone call that we were able to record while we were there. That was a real phone call. I just happened to record it at the time when he called, because we had great conversations, and for some reason, I just knew it was going to be gold. I was like, yo, this is going to be great. Hit record while I take this call. And he was like, bro, like, I think it's time for you to show him. Like, I think it's time for you to tell him, because he knew me going out there with Apollo and linking up with him again, we were about to do something crazy. And I just realized that, again, from like Gary Vee and like the hustle, you know, hustle beats, you know, talent every single time. And I had that line in my head, and I was just like, oh man, I'm about to make like just a super motivational song, but it's like a little bit more aggressive than just like happy Monday morning kind of song. You know, I wanted it to be a little bit more, just to make it a little bit more serious, because I didn't want to get pigeonholed or categorized as like a pop rapper or anything like that. You know, I wanted it to be a little bit more, for the people who I felt needed it, are those people who are really aggressive and figuring out you can use that aggression for good. You know, you can use that love for good, you know, and so those were the angles that I was coming from. And I was thinking of things that were in threes, and I was like, what about like a triangle? And then I was like, well, what about trying the angles? So then instead of doing a TRI, I put TRY. And when I had that, I was like, oh, I got it. I called Apollo immediately. I was like, bro, I got the name of it. I know what I'm going to do with it. Like, boom. And I gave him the concept, and he was like, bro, that's perfect. Like, I love it. And then we just ran with that. So, you know, it wasn't really, like, I have a lot more music that I would love to put out, but I just know that people consume a lot faster these days. And I think that we can get a lot more out of the music that we put out, you know, with Triangles and putting out 2 videos that are with it. Like, those are some of the most streamed songs that I've had, you know, those are some of the highest rated videos that I've had, and it's only 3 songs, you know. If I would have maybe put out 9 songs, I don't know if I would have had that type of, you know, just kind of engagement into what they can consume. And it just helped me pitch the music too, because whenever I talk to anybody who doesn't know who I am, I'm like, hey, check out this project. It's 10 minutes long. You know, like it's 10 minutes long. You can just peep it real quick. Let me know what you think. And people end up going through the whole thing. And if they like it, then they end up going through the whole thing a lot more. And I think that's been beneficial in the streaming era. And that's been beneficial with people who aren't familiar with me to consume my music a lot easier.
Yeah, no, for sure. And that's the cool thing about some of the small projects that come out. Like, you know, Kanye had like a good run with, what was it, 2 years ago? With, you know, the 7-song projects like every week. And shit, I mean, Daytona came out of that, was the first release. And I talk about Daytona like almost every interview, but like, you know, it's just it's a real solid piece of work for as short as it is. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, the concept and everything as well, you know, it cultivates the whole thing. So, you know, it helps, you know, at the end of it. It really does help.
Yeah. And you know, I honestly believe that as an upcoming artist, like, you should really only be putting out EPs, you know, or singles, because it's like putting out a full body of work and a full album, and there's just so much heart that goes into it. Like, these are just 3 songs, and I poured my soul into it, you know? So to pour my soul into 16, into getting, like, all of these other people involved and all these producers and doing it right and getting all the videos done ahead of time and all of these different things, to get to what audience? You know, you may not have amassed the audience that you need yet. So then that can ruin your confidence, that can, like, lower your self-esteem, like, there's all different types of things that, so to me, it's kind of like, why do that to yourself? Make all of this music, make all of these songs that people love and enjoy, and maybe if you get a deal or if you get to a situation where your grassroots has really started to bloom and materialize, then give them an album. You know, I don't want to give an album until my fan base is calling for an album, where they need to know everything about what's going on in my life right now so that I can put all of that into an album so that it'll do well, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I believe that too. Especially with like, I don't know, like I don't know if like why it happens, but sometimes when you have like the newer artists like just starting their careers out, they already have like such a high, standard on their music, and they think that like, oh, like this is the one, and it's like 19 song album, and it's like like there's like four good ones that I could like listen to here and there, and then whatever happens after that, I mean that it's just an interesting route where it goes to and stuff. It's like kind of like my pet peeve when it comes to like new artists, because I'm not nowhere near like high level to really have like an opinion like that really matters. You know what I'm saying? But if I'm a nobody and thinking that way, it just I can only imagine how the higher ups feel. You know what I'm saying? And so.
Yeah, totally, totally, man. And it's you're still learning. As an artist, as a local artist, like I'm still learning. Like I'm still learning ways how to use my voice. I'm still learning new tricks on recording and things like that. So if I come out with 19 songs that I made over the course of like a year, some of those songs aren't going to sound as good as the other songs that were made closer to when the project came out, because I'm still learning throughout it, And it's like, it would be much better to catalog those songs, learn everything that you need to know, and if you feel like that those songs were quality, go back in and re-record them. Go back in, re-record them, make sure that they're tip-top, and that they're not dated in any sort of way. As long as they're not dated, then you can put them out, and get a better response out of it. And that's something that I've kind of always believed. And I see so many people in our community, so many artists, man, who just get mad that people aren't checking out their stuff. And it's like, bro, like, it's not up to par, and that's not a slight against you or anything like that. It's just that if you want to do this for real, you have to get your music to a certain level. If that takes more time than someone else, that's fine. Take that time for yourself. We're not in any rush. If you don't come out with music for 2 years, but the music that you come out with after that 2 years is phenomenal and hundreds of thousands of people like it, wouldn't that be a better situation than putting out music every 6 months that maybe 50 people listen to, and then they kind of write you off because they feel like that they've heard it already, or that they've heard how good you can possibly be, and then now it's just an upward battle on trying to retain that type of fan base. Yeah. So, I've just always kind of thought that, and I never wanted to be the person that put my all into something, put it out, and feel like I didn't get a return on it.
True, man. Damn. So, this thing on the show that I do, where, with this whole quarantine going on, let's just say it's already been extended, like, 3 months? So let's just say this gets extended out for the rest of the year, and for some reason the Wi-Fi fucks up, and that includes the streaming services. So now you're only left with 3 options to listen to on like Spotify, Apple, whatever. They only have 3 artists and bands to listen to for the rest of the year. Who you rocking with?
Oh man, only 3 artists to listen to for the rest of the year. Jeez, that's tough, man. That's a tough question.
If
I can pick 3 artists to listen to, I mean, it's not even just like my favorite artists, because a lot of my favorite artists don't put out music as often as that. So like, I'm trying to think of artists that would actively be putting out music. I think you're probably gonna laugh at this. I think Future would probably be one of them. Just because of how often he puts out music. So I would just need something to kind of keep me
Like keep
kind
the
of
energy up.
bumping and going. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think Kendrick would be up there as well, just to keep me motivated, to keep my focus, in the right place, because the things that he says just kind of remind me every day about how powerful I am as an artist and how powerful our music is and things that we can do. And then probably like some R&B, man. Probably like I'm really liking Division's music and the music that they're putting out. I've been listening to a lot more R&B as of late. Not trying to become an R&B singer, but I just love just the way that they are putting out music. It's like alternative. It's not just like slow jams, but it's not just like fast tempo either. Like they have like some really, really good grooves, and because rap is becoming more melodic, there's a lot of things that I can pull from that without being an R&B artist that I can use in my music. So that would probably be it. I'll go with that. I'm okay with that.
All right, cool. So we got Future, Kendrick, and Division.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, I'm not mad at that. I like that one. Shit, I mean, like, what? We have like 7 months left. That's doable for sure, big time.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
Well,
man.
and another thing I do on the show is that sometimes I have like these different moods that I'm in or things I want to do, but I want to have the right playlist for them and stuff. And whether it's like for like a first date, a road trip, something for the gym, and I just kind of want to get like like a song that you would choose, not from your own catalog, but just like a song that you put on for an uplifting mood.
For an uplifting mood?
Mm-hmm.
And a song that's not mine.
Yeah.
Does it have to be a popular artist, or could it be like like a local artist? Or
it could be.
Like that?
Yeah, it could be anything. Just like because when I listen to your music, it kind of motivates me. It kind of like gets me like up and going. Does not necessarily out of a bad mood or nothing. It's just like if I'm like feeling kind of lazy, but then I hear like Monday morning, then it's like, all right, get your ass up and do something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, get it popping.
So it doesn't necessarily have to be motivating, but like just something that kind of like lifts you up.
Okay. A song that lifts me up. It's funny because the song that I'm gonna pick isn't necessarily for uplifting, but it always uplifts me, and that is Blue, First Things First, off of Below the Heavens, the album. And there's just something about like the way that the beat just comes in, and it just makes me feel great. It makes me feel like I'm outside and I'm about to just like find the love of my life, and I'm about to feel like just super awesome and motivated and confident and things like that. So I love listening to that song on like a nice, morning drive with the sun out. Oh man, it's great.
Definitely, man. Damn, that's a good one. I didn't even think about that one. I haven't heard that album maybe since their 10th year anniversary album. I was kind of announced. You know what I'm saying? And so that's what I think that was the last time I listened to that album. So probably gonna be listening to that after this. Shit.
You got it, bro. You got it, man. It was such a blessing to be able to meet them in person at the Thought Fest. Shout out 60 East, who was able to like get them there, and hearing it in its entirety, like him performing it and just being able to chop it up with him. Like that album definitely influenced me in like wanting to provide positive, good music.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, so 2025, where do you see yourself at?
2025, man. What is that? 5 years from now?
Yes, sir.
5 years from now, man. You know what? I don't really have like a game plan for that, and not to say that like I'm not thinking about that, but as of recent, bro, just to keep it 100 with you, I've always been kind of like controlling a lot. I like to control what I'm doing. I like to plan what I'm doing. I like to do these different things.
Yeah.
And I've just really started relinquishing that. and surrendering it to God, surrendering it to the universe, because there's just so many opportunities of things that can happen that, like, if I'm so in control of it, I can miss some blessings. I can miss other things that are kind of coming way. So to think out in 2025, I could tell you something right now and be doing something completely different. I know that I want to continue to create. I know I'm definitely going to be putting out music. I'm hoping to have at least 3 bodies of work by 2025 for sure. A lot more videos, hopefully some videos that get critically acclaimed. That would be wonderful. I would love to have, anywhere from maybe 10,000 to 50,000 real fans. Like the stream numbers, I don't care what the numbers are, but if I can have 10,000 to 50,000 real fans, that means that I can perform in arenas. I can perform in big theaters and things like that. That would be amazing to me. Be able to tour and be touring around the world. By 2025, I hope to have a book finished. By 2025, I hope to start in my company and maybe have other people who I'm helping their musical dreams, kind of come to fruition in a real way, because I've had all of the necessary experience or value or things that I can really give, not just because, I want a label or I want to do this, but really make it mean something, or really project it and have it, going in a certain direction. And then, I do hope to be doing my passion full time, so no longer working at Taco Bell, hopefully in 5 years, because I hope to be making enough money and be in a certain position where I won't have to have a day job, that everything that I'm doing creatively as Noreik Thascool and the brand of Noreik Thascool has manifested itself so that I can do that full time, And if that is what God wants for me, and if that's what the universe wants for me, then that would be awesome, But I'm not discounting anything. Shoot, I could be teaching, I could be doing something completely different in 5 years, but that's kind of where my heart is. My heart is to continue to do this and to continue to spread it as wide as possible and to continue to touch lives.
All right, cool. And so, this interview is probably not going to come out until maybe beginning of June, maybe middle of June or so. But do we have any upcoming releases coming up anytime soon?
Yes. I should be having some releases by the time this interview comes out.
Okay.
I was just on the phone with my producer, Jam Cam, earlier today, and we were plotting stuff out. We have our Google Drives and our documents and everything. So I was just playing some stuff and kind of listening to it, making notes to see what I need to re-record, what I need to bring in for features and different things like that. So there's definitely going to be some Noreik Thascool music dropping this summer. Hopefully in the beginning part of the summer, around June is kind of what I'm aiming for.
For sure. All right, cool. Damn, man. Well, I have a lot more questions, but I also kind of want to save that for maybe an in-person one, because even though I've been doing this whole quarantine, FaceTime interviews for a minute now, it's I still want to try to get something in depth and personal. You know what I'm saying? So
For sure.
I'll save these ones, and then especially have a lot more, especially with the new releases coming up too. We have a lot of different ones that we could get into. So if you're with it, I'm with it.
I'm with it, bro. I'm with it, man. When everything kind of dies down and we're a little bit more in a safer situation, I'd love to come and sit down with you. We'll talk about it. We'll do the interview over some food, whatever. It'll be a good time.
Hell yeah! I already have some ideas brewing up anyway, so it's gonna be interesting for sure. I'm pretty excited for it, but yeah, I'm with it. So just like an intro, I don't have an outro either, but I do go by Tony Oddball. This is an odd conversation with a very special guest.
Noreik Thascool. Make sure and follow me at Thascool on all social media platforms. Check out my music if possible. Connect with me. Shout out Tony. This has been great, man. I really appreciate you. Thank you for having me.
Shit. Thank you for your time. That's all I gotta say for sure. We'll be in contact, man. For sure, man.